ふわふわりふるふるふるくるくるくる回るのふわふわふよふよふわふわりふるるくるくるふわふわ飛び出したのおやおやふよふよふれる頭ふよふよふわふわり飛び出すよふよふよふわふわふわふれる頭ふわふわふわわふわ飛び出すよふわりふわりふわわふわふわふわわふわわふわふわふわふわ頭がふえるふえ頭ふえふえるふよふよよふえるふえふえるえるえるふえるふわふわふわりふわ頭飛び出すよよよよああころがよがりころがるころがりがりがりがりがりがりがりわ頭だけ一斉にドボン頭だけ一斉にドボンうわわ頭だけ一斉にドボンまた頭だけが一斉にジャブジャブ頭だけが一斉にドボン頭だけが一斉に沈むブレーク頭だけが一斉にドボンあわわ息ができない頭だけ一斉にドボン頭だけ一斉にドボンうわわ頭だけ一斉にドボンまた頭だけが一斉にダブジャブ頭だけが一斉にドボン頭だけが一斉に沈むブレーク頭だけが一斉にドボンあわわ息ができないそれなんだぷくぷくぷかぷかぷかり頭ふきぷかりぷかぷかさまよ胸にくつかえていたりふんふんふんぷかぷかチクチクふるふるふるえふよぷかりぷかりふわわふわふわふわふわふわふわふわふわ頭がふえるふえ頭ふえふえるふよふよよふえるふえふえるふえるふえるふわふわふわりふわ頭飛び出すよよよよああ飛び出す飛び出し飛び出しますふわふわふわふわふわ空飛ぶ頭だけ空に飛ぶ
Hello, hello. How is everyone? Welcome to the Waystone Inn. That is the look that I get whenever I see Moobot do that shit. But I'm here with Minimancer. Minimancer, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm rather shocked. I thought I wasn't streaming anymore tonight.
I'm also shocked. Elive and Mani, thank you for the follows. You guys are making me all bashful. Thank you very much. Even though I totally botched that with Moobot yet again. It's been like 3 weeks. Has it been the whole time?
It's been the whole time. At this point, it's tradition.
Yeah, I think that's my guaranteed scuff every single damn week. But yeah, we're back. We took a week off and feeling
Yep.
a little bit revitalized at least. Thank you for the nuts. All the nuts. And I'll get you a jelly jiggler in a second, Monty. Um just going over the discussion here. Today we are going to be attacking chapters 58 through 68, I believe. I had it in my head it was 48 through 58, but our numbers disagree with my line of thought. So can't believe this is going to be the 5th episode, right?
Yes, it is. Which is quite fun. Though, I got to say, I don't think I should have said the Chandrians' names out loud.
Is that backfiring a bit?
Backfiring a bit.
um I'm very cautious when it comes to that stuff. It's like our friends the Shin talkers. We don't we don't talk about them either.
Who got fucked in these chapters? Honey, there's a lot of people getting fucked, but they're probably not the main cast.
This is me now. I am a giant jelly jiggler.
Hello, my eldritch abomination. Now, Felix,
Oh
I
my
think you'll
god.
appreciate the level of sass that is in these chapters.
Oh jeez. Stallion Steve, thank you for the follow, brother. Welcome to the stream. And yeah, so today we are just going over chapters 58 to 68. There's a lot of sass, there's a lot of some of the side characters that were introduced very briefly are now making major appearances. Um and there's a lot of action in this little compact group of 10 chapters that we have.
That's kind of this book, though. Everything is just condensed to the exciting things.
And I love that. It's a great writing style, right?
Yes, I love the writing.
Um
I thought you were going to turn into the character from Bobo 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 Bobo.
Not too far off, right?
Sorry, Bobo Bobo Bobo.
Bobo.
Exciting according to Kavoth. Indeed.
Very exciting. And Owler, I might need you today. I'm sure there are very brief bits that I have overlooked, and I will be needing your brain, as between us there are probably 1.5 brain cells today.
I am pudding-brained.
We got pudding. We got milk
Pudding!
and pudding. Although I think that milk is going bad over there.
I don't know, the pudding baths are still pretty good, though.
I abstained from that, and I think I'm going to continue. You keep your pudding in your brain, ma'am.
Absolutely. What do you think is under this hat? Emergency pudding. Paddington Bear keeps marmalade sandwiches. I keep pudding.
Well,
This darkness covering me? It's not shadow, it's pudding.
I'm kind of terrified a little bit more than I was before.
Yeah,
Somehow.
you should be.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. But yeah, thank you all for the follows, and thank you all for coming today. We're gonna go ahead and get started, and I got my routine blush going on for y'all. Thanks for the follows. Flattery gets you everywhere here. Cracking into chapter 58. Time she back the spear. Can we do that for the week? Like, do we want to lend it, or you know?
Fine, I guess. Lend the spear. Just don't lend her your spear.
We'll give it back. We'll give you a month lend. How about that? Borrowed. He'll never know. He'll never know.
Have you seen this man?
Well, now you
Please
have.
let us know.
He's a piece of cardboard. This is his final form, apparently.
The epitome of VTuber, the cardboard cutout.
Getting started here. Chapter 58. We begin with Cloth speaking of a yearning that he has had for Denna over the years, and he's kind of kept it in a corner of his heart, sealed off. And he has daydreams that he never thought were possible. But after seeing her, he recognizes the same ring on her finger from years and years ago on the caravan. Was it Roan? I might be messing that up, but
Has it
it's
really been years? I thought it was like 1 year.
I think it's been quite a few, right? 3,
Has it been 3?
2 or 3.
It was only about a year. Ha!
Okay,
Ha!
you win.
I was correct. My pudding brain still has something in it.
Your pudding wins the day. I will
Right. I'm for the win.
oblige to your superior intelligence.
Huh.
You can try to lend her your spear. You may never see it again. Well, it has like one of those return functions, you know, magically attuned weapons and whatnot. Just a bonus action brings it back. Wink, wink. But yeah, Denna meets eyes with our hero here, and kind of just takes off running towards him in skipping steps, and it's almost as if they're going to embrace in a hug, like a jumping hug, but at the last moment she pulls back and transforms it into a greeting at arm's length with one hand on Kavath's chest for a sudden stop. And even though it's just one hand on his chest, Kavath is getting the feels. Very
Got that Doki Doki.
Yes, the Doki Doki. Thank you. Good words. Good words.
Yeah.
She smiles at him. It was warm, sweet, and shy, like a flower unfurling. It was a friendly and honest and slightly embarrassed smile. Kavath felt that lying would be easier. I could steal from 100 stories and tell you a lie so familiar you would swallow it whole. I could say my knees went to rubber, that my breath came hard in my chest. But that would not be the truth. My heart did not pound or stop or stutter. That is the sort of thing they say happens in stories. So, this is kind of like going into the poetic nature of describing the indescribable moment of a reuniting. I wrote that down because I did love the way that he strung those words together. Rothfuss is a truly poetic genius when it comes to novels, and I will try as I might to emulate his writing style, but I am just a cheap imitation compared to this man. Going off into conversation, going out into early days of winter. Yes, more nuts. I think that's
you can't escape.
That's Monty's nut that time. Thank you, Monty. I love thanking people for their nuts.
Whatever you need to get through the day, I am not judging. I will not shame you. No.
At least 5 nuts a day keeps the doctor away, you know? Don't quote me on that.
Someone clip that. Felix, clip it.
Going out into the early days of winter after the first cold snap of the season. Finding a pool of water with a sheet of ice across the top, still fresh and new and clear as glass. Slide out further, eventually you'll find the place where the surface just barely bears your weight. There you will feel what I felt, the ice splinters under your feet. Look down and you can see the white cracks starting through the ice like mad, elaborate spider webs. It is perfectly silent, but you can feel the sudden sharp vibrations through the bottom of your feet. That is what happened when Dennis smiled at me. Again, what poetry? Okay, who nutted? Ludo.
So many nuts.
Edgar. Monty. Wow, coming back for... Was that round 2, Monty? Jeez. Mancer, you're not allowed to nut.
I am allowed!
God damn it. Even my co-host is nutting. So, Cloth, of course, goes into a stunned silence, doing a very elaborate, very formal 3/4 bow, throwing his cloak behind him. Showy. Speaks of the differences in cultures and courts and how to kiss a lady's hand, and decides on the straightforward lips to the back of her hand. Of course, he talks about it just being a script that you are to follow when you have nothing to say, you know, manners or etiquette. And he just says, "I'm at your service, my lady." And I thought that was kind of profound, like, very good way of describing, like, pleasantries when speaking with people. It's what you say when you have nothing else to say. Period.
Man, can we just say it? Can we just call out the elephant in the room right now? Kavoth is a shrimp?
Okay, yeah. It's definitely the, you know, sweating kind of paralyzed fear that you get when you are, you know, 15 years old, when a girl that you like walks up to you and, you know, goes as far as putting a hand on your chest. This is what happens, right? Or
I'll take you
was
right on it.
I a nerd?
Ah, we were both nerds. Wait, someone touched you when you were a teenager?
Oh my god. I'm not even gonna, no. No.
I told you I was going to be pudding brain tonight. I'm here to be a peanut gallery.
You are definitely the peanut gallery. And you have all
From
your
a
nuts
nut
in chat.
gallery.
You have all your nuts in chat. So, Cloth offers his pipes. Whoa. I scrolled down too far here. Way too far. Cloth speaks of differences in cultures, decided into straightforward, lips on the back of hand, and goes over the script that you follow. And he's met with a curtsy, and it's asked what he's doing up in the 3rd level all by himself. She explains how she waited for 2 hours, but then decided that this time Halloween would have to do the finding. Cloth offers his pipes as payment for thanks and joining in his song, and Denna is shocked, but explains that she would rather have Cloth beholden to her. That way that Cloth owes her a favor, and Cloth kind of swoons at this. And it's like, oh, she wants me around. Yes, I will gladly agree to this, shaking his head, nodding.
This man.
Shrimp scale 11, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And we get to the point where another person is walking onto the stage, an old man with a court lute of 24 strings. Can you imagine 24 strings?
Oh, thank you. That's a harp.
24 strings. Said that he hopes he tuned it before walking on stage, and he guessed it would take 2 hours for a 2-minute performance just from the tuning. In reality, the old man was done in 5 minutes, and Cloth didn't remember a damn thing about the performance. His thoughts were solely on the focus on Denna, who is now next to him, and how she hadn't called him by name yet. Usually so calm under pressure and just melts in Denna's presence. Well, I mean, you'll find that he isn't the only one, right? We'll get to that in a little bit of later chapters. This woman is supposed to be of immeasurable beauty, like almost goddess level, right?
Yeah, but Beth says she's just okay and has a crooked nose.
Yeah. It depends on who you believe with this interpretation. Do you believe Mancer or do you believe me?
I'm gonna say, wow, making it personal, are we? I see. Very well then, I see how this evening's gonna go.
Well, you egged me on, Peanut Gallery. She had perfect ears, exactly. Color, exactly. Perfect ears, Mancer. Can you discount perfect ears?
Ears.
Your ears?
Yep.
They're kind of perfect, aren't they?
Yeah. Except when they're molting.
What? Can you say that again?
Only when they're molting. They're feathered.
Makes me sad and upset.
Well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad you're sad and upset.
Do you just peel off the layer? Like,
No, it's not shedding. Molting means that my feathers fall out to make room for new feathers to grow in.
is it all at
I'm not a
once?
snake. It
Well, I
takes like a
don't
week or
know.
two.
Tell under there. It's all darkness.
No. Exactly.
I've never like inspected your ears. That'd be weird.
Get away from me. You and your ear thing.
Excuse me. Well, what do you find attractive?
Books.
True Sapio. Hello, darkness,
Look.
my old friend.
You show up with a book, that's totally fine by me.
Okay. Take notes, chat. Take notes.
There's a reason I got a book emote.
So, back to the story. I digress. So, going back through the... I occasionally scroll too far down here. Dennis says that Cloth made a mistake doubling the refrain and asking for a stranger to join in, and she admits that she waited for someone else to join as she had only heard the song twice. Now, this gives you a little kind of glimpse into the intellect of Denna. And she goes off to explain how recently she heard it and memorized it from just that one sitting. Like, the first one wasn't enough to pay any attention to it, and it was in a court where she had heard it for the second time. And this is when he's actually caught marveling at Denna's ears and remarking that she has an incredible ear. So, pun pun, blush blush. Melty melty to the ground. Puddle, right?
Yep.
And guess who wanders up? Our good old boy Savoy.
I love Savoy. He's a great wingman.
Savoy, of all people, puts his hand around Denna's waist, and Savoy was trying to help her find Cloth, and the two walked together, arm in arm, back to a table, while Denna turned and shrugged her eyebrows before they got to the table, and Cloth even mentions he had no idea what that expression is or what it meant, still to this day. Savoy says that Cloth owes him one after he kind of beckons him to join them at the table, and Cloth agrees to take Sim as his corners partner next time they play in payment. Because Sim isn't the best gambler, right?
No, he is not. It's kind of a joke. Like, you're taking him. It's like, oh, come on, man. I'm going to lose money.
Yeah, and even Cloth kind of protests because that's... mentally protests because that's one of the ways he makes money, right? From gambling.
Yeah.
And going on with the conversation, Denna asks, or Denna is asked what he owes her. And she asks anything within his skill, and Cloth says, I could do anything if you were to ask me of it. Savoy said that is a dangerous thing to say to a woman. She might ask a leaf of the singing tree from the other side of the world. Denna playfully asks for one, and Cloth obliges.
Yep.
Write that down. Cloth said he feared he might not know her name and offers that Ferulian should be her name. Dennis says she would like that if she didn't know he was a liar, and Quoth quotes Daonica and is immediately called out by Denna again. That's a line from a play.
That specifically, that's a line from Daonica, and it's like, oh crap, you know Daonica? I only quote it constantly at people like I am some complete and utter hipster, but whatever.
Literally, like, you get it that this is the equivalent of Quoth's favorite anime in present day, right? Or
Yeah. It'd
if
be like
I was
walking
to
around
say,
saying like B plus ultra or
exactly, you beat me to it, thank you. And Savoy's just sitting there, kind of like annoyingly staring a little bit, I would assume.
Man's getting in the way of his date, like that's totally legit.
Yeah, I would be kind of ticked, especially seeing the chemistry that these two have. She says that she knows he is in the university and that he meddles with dark forces, and giving her name will give him power over her. Said seriously, but with a smile. Eventually, Quoth and her exchange names. She acts as if she tastes Quoth's name on her lips, like a hidden secret. Then she gives Quoth her name, which is a totally different name, right? This is Diane.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, like, red flags would be going up for me, but Quoth is so smitten, he just doesn't give a shit. Savoy gives an annoyed look, and Quoth takes the hint, this time leaving without kissing her hand, although he did want to. And yeah, Savoy was his friend, and that is not the sort of things that friends do, is the end of the chapter.
Yeah, poor Savoy. He got turned into the wingman on his own date.
Not suspicious at all.
No, not at all.
I just
Clearly
immediately think of that Don't Be Suspicious song. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Trust me, I know that one very well.
Yes, exactly that. And in my notes, I actually have, this is a poetic ode to friendship that I will have the magical Mancer read.
Oh, what am I reading?
Something in chapter 59. I'm trying to get to
Okay.
the page right now so I could give you the page mark.
Well, we have different books, so...
Sheesh.
Sheesh.
I wonder how much it was reworked. It's just a short little chapter. Yeah, just read the chapter. All this knowing.
Cool. Give me a second, I'm getting to it. All this knowing, okay. In the fullness of time, with considerable help from Diok and Willem, I became drunk. Thus it was that 3 students made their slightly erratic way back to the university. See them as they go, weaving only slightly. It is quiet, and when the belling tower strikes the late hour, it doesn't break the silence so much as it underpins it. The crickets, too, respect the silence. Their calls are careful stitches in the fabric, almost too small to be seen. The night is like warm velvet around them. The stars, burning diamonds in a cloudless sky, turn the road beneath their feet a silvery grey. The university and Imre are the hearts of understanding and art, the strongest 4 corners of civilization. Here on the road between the two, there's nothing but old trees and long grass, bending to the wind. The night is perfect in a wild way, almost terrifyingly beautiful. The 3 boys, one dark, one light, and one, for the lack of better words, fiery, do not notice the night. Perhaps some part of them does, and they are young and drunk, and busy knowing deep in their hearts that they will never grow old or die. They also know that they are friends, and they share a certain love that will never leave them. The boys know many other things, but none of them seem to be as important as this. Perhaps they are right.
See, I knew I wouldn't write down, have Mancer read this if it wasn't a short and sweet thing.
Dang!
Yeah. So, and this almost seems like it could be another one of Chronicler's inserts a little bit. What's
It
your
could
feel
be.
on that?
I think this is a chronicler insert because it's talking again in the third person.
Mm-hmm. That's my take too, but I also feel like it could be Cloth kind of like narrating the beauty of it, but like with these pages coming up, like I think it's just complete obsession at this point. Like I don't know if he would narrate about love for friendship at this point, you know? It just seems like it has to be chronicler.
I think it has to be.
So I immediately refute my rebuttal. um Beautifully said, beautifully written. What is time when you're spending it with friends, right? That is an ode to friendship if I've ever seen one.
Yes.
Not.
What? Why, Manser? It was like
Spending
you were
quality
like
time with the bros, man.
you were like just yes, not
Yes. Yes, not.
quite not, yes.
Yes, quite.
So, chapter 60, kicking it off, we get to the next day was the admissions lottery. Cloth got Hepton noon, which was 5 days from the first day, or on the fifth day, one of the two, on the fifth day. Cloth kind of signals that he's willing to sell his slot and holds his hand above his head with his thumb up, I believe.
Yeah.
Indicating that he's ready to sell his lot. He didn't know what much good waiting would do since he doesn't have access to the archives, and he's kind of right? He can't study, he just has to work with what's in his brain rattling around already. And he's approached by a student with a 4th day slot, which offers a jot, and Cloth refuses almost instantly, and the student's like, okay. It just kind of walks off. Next, second student that walks up is Galvin, a Relar. Approaches and offers 5 jots, but Cloth is kind of like staunch and letting him know that he wants a talent at least, and Galvin has 1st day slot. Galvin is like, let me chew on it a little bit, and says I'll look for another one while mulling it over. So, passed off 2 deals right there. Next up is Will and Sim greeting him. Will looks kind of pale, and Sim looks bright and cheery, giving info about their favorite BFF, Ambrose, and his friends all have crappy drawing slots for this afternoon. What simple, delightful twist in fate.
Worthy of smiling over.
Yes, and I believe he does smile. But guess who it comes rolling up with the homies?
Ambrose.
Yeah. Ambrose sees a hand, and him and his gang approach, and he gets closer and closer to come into view, and it's Cloth. And he sees who he's heading towards, and gets a scowl on his face as he addresses Cloth as a beggar and then insults him. Homies. Cloth counters that his shirts are too richly dyed for his taste, speaking of Ambrose, and I don't know how to say this. The edemateitas would be the reason for this dye. A disease you get from whore's discharge. And Ambrose is kind of forced into a laugh as his friends are laughing around him. So it's just kind of like the ha funny. Yes, a syphilis joke. And they begin to bargain, and Koss says he would settle for 5 talents, and then 4, and then 1 and 4, and then finally, with a back and forth, they agree to a 1 and 3 offered by Ambrose. Ambrose is eager to help out the needy, as he puts it, and Koss says the conversion out loud so that Ambrose gets nerved, Quoth, knowing that Ambrose botched his arithmetic last time for entrance exams, or what do they call it? The toll for your tuition. And this kind of gets Ambrose a little rattled at the time, and he snaps back. And they get to talking about Ambrose's travels in the courts. They talk about Modigan nobility and regard to haggling, and how Koss says that it is awfully kind of him to come down to his level for a bargain, and says that the Rue love to dicker. Admissions. Thank you, Owler. The brain cell's not working today, and Pudding over there has about a half today. So we got to make do with what we got. Ambrose denies that that's not it, almost out of reflex, gets super flustered. And Quoth feigns a mask of concern and taunts Ambrose yet again, causing Ambrose to say, "Keep it and choke. Remember this when you are eating beans and washing in the river. I'll still be here the day you leave with nothing but your hands in your pockets." Oh, Ambrose, if you only knew, buddy. If you only knew. Wait, he came in here on way worse terms than what you're describing. Like,
Yeah.
you were eating those words. And you have no idea. You just think he's some off to do, like, small town somebody, right?
No, not Kavoth the King Killer, Kavoth Bloodless.
Exactly. Well, we don't know how he leaves. That is true. But we know how he got there. And immediately after Ambrose strides away, we get Will and Sim being asked to score it. And Sim says about 2-3 in favor of Quoth. And Quoth is kind of like, I could have done better. Will cautions that the eventual payback is going to be much worse every time he does this. And Quoth says that the Masters have assured that they can't do anything but snap at each other. So eventually, we get through this conversation about being cautioned and it being thrown to the wind. Haha. Eventually, he trades it to a Relar from the fishery named Jackson for 6 jots and a favor to be named later. Not too bad, seeing as Quoth works in the fishery.
Mhm.
And we get to the taking of the test. It's skipped over. We don't get any fun questions to go over in detail this time around. It's just 6 talents. Which isn't too bad, right?
It's not too bad, but it's still a lot of money for Kavoth.
True. So, we make our way back to the Aeolian. Aeolian?
Aeolian, yeah.
Aeolian. It's always strange whenever I say it. It just looks weird to me on paper.
The sentence of that chapter is pretty ominous, apparently.
Oh, really? The end sentence of the chapter is pretty ominous. Yeah. We will scroll to it.
Then I retired to my rooms, where I slept like a dead man, lost in the vastness of my new feather bed. Is that it? Or did I accidentally skip one?
Might be from a later bit. Yeah, it's okay, Owler. We'll get. I think I wrote down the one you're thinking of, so I think. Where are we at? So we get to the Aeolian, right? Aeolian.
Yes.
And they're greeted by Deox saying, "We got your lady inside." He thought it could be Denna, then remembers he left his loot behind. As many musicians call their instruments their babies or their lady, right? So
Yes.
Quoth stormed inside at the thought of Stanchion playing his lute and is greeted by Threat, who asks if Quoth will play for him at his place someday, and explains that word of his feats of triumph is getting around town. Quoth uses formalities, and is directed by Threp to piss on etiquette and call him Den. And when Quoth calls him Den, Threp gets kind of, I don't know how to describe his reaction. It was like a little bashful. He's like, oh, we're friends now, kind of thing. And he kind of blushes. And he gets kind of caught off guard when he finds out that Quoth is studying at the university and calls him a warlock.
Yep.
Threp wants to be seen as cool. Yes. He's much the older gentleman kind of character that is keeping hip with the times and hanging out and trying to, cling on to their youth and doing so very vibrantly, and succeeding. We'll say he's succeeding because everybody loves Threp. Meanwhile, Threp says that he would have brought him in as a musician, but he already has 3, and brings up a quote ending on 4 and they will hate you, usually associated with wives. 3 and they'll hate each other, 4 and they'll hate you. So he offers to play matchmaker in the social circles for Quoth. And Quoth insists on asking about Diane, to which Diok is called over, being waved down by Threp. And Diok knows exactly who Quoth is talking about, and cautions Quoth that she's in and out of town, always traveling, and that men fall for her like wheat falls before the sickle blade. Quoth goes to see Devi next. Skip scene. And he ventures that he could pay off his entire debt and still afford tuition. He liked to start the semester with some coin, so he offers to pay the interest. And Devi is more than happy with that if she gets to see him again. I love Devi so much. So
Debbie is
cheerful.
amazing. I love her.
Quoth gave her a question, and she flirtatiously asks if it was inappropriate, but is met with if anyone ever tried to report her, and she asks if he is curious or threatening. She offers the truth, and when she asked if he could play a song, she would tell Quoth after the song. She asks for Leave the Town Tinker, and she claps and sings along, and this is where Quoth kind of clocks the true age of Devi, saying that she's acting like a girl, and then he remembers she is a girl still. And Quoth kind of like takes in the sight, admires a little bit. Has to do.
Well, yeah, he should admire.
We all should admire.
Absolutely. Look at his ears, chat.
So, she tells of an Alir from 2 years ago that told the constable then rather pay his debt, but the constable searched and found nothing incriminating. And the next day, the gentleman admitted the truth, quote unquote, that he made the whole thing up because Devi had spurned his romantic advances. That's about right.
Okay. Yeah.
Quoth is interrupted by the sight of Malkath's, the basis of all matter. And Quoth begins to scan the shelves and says he wouldn't have missed a question in tuition if he had those to study from, pointing at the shelf. Devi says that if he keeps his hands clean, he can come over and do reading, or if he plays, he might even be able to borrow a book or two. We exiles should stick together, Devi says playfully, indicating that they both had been banned from the archives. And I have in all caps, Devi was totally flirting.
No shit. And another copy of The Mating Habits of the Common Dracus.
Yes, this book is all over. That book is all over this book. There we go. All over the place. So, with that, you kind of get another insight to make you love Devi a little bit more. Um, she's not the hard ass you once thought she was, right? With the blood situation. Um, she's trying to, feel out Quoth and thinks he's quite a fella. And I wish Quoth would think that back, but he only has eyes for Denna. We get to a cutscene where he goes to see Kilvin to pay off his debts at the shop. Kilvin knew how much without ever looking at the ledger that Quoth owed for materials. This kind of like gives Quoth a little jolt that this man has a bear trap of a mind. And he kind of like shudders at his thought of what is going on in Kilvin's mind at any given point.
Yes.
Kilvin first refuses, but then eventually allows after questioning how Quoth got the money. He was genuinely surprised music paid that well across the river. And Kilvin asks as if he was correct to assume that Quoth is done working there, seeing all this money that Quoth just kind of threw at him. And Quoth says that he is ready to come back to work in the shop. On the contrary, it isn't about the coin, it's about Quoth genuinely wanting to study there. Kilvin says, good, music is fine thing, but metal lasts. Quoth says this was the first thing that Kilvin had said that he didn't agree with. Metal rusts, and music lasts forever. Time will eventually prove this one right. Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
So yeah, these chapters have a lot of like little, Easter eggs if you catch them, or ominous foreboding. Definitely there were a lot of alarm lights going off, not knowing anything that even is yet to happen. You could definitely subtly pick up that there's a lot of foreshadowing in these chapters. Ominous foreshadowing. We got woofies.
Oh my goodness.
No woofies.
There's woofs. Hold on. Are the woofies?
He's
Oh.
shaking his tail. Like, he knows I shouldn't do it, but I'm going to.
I'm looking.
I think he's good. So, well, what'd you find?
I was looking for the dog.
There's only bunnies down there. Dust bunnies.
Well, you never know. Could be dust dogs.
They could have evolved into dust dogs.
Yeah.
You're right. We'll keep an eye on that culture you have going.
Okay, we'll have to for science.
So, after this quote, we get to heading to the Horse and Four, or the Four Kitchens, and Quoth bargains with the innkeeper named Caverin. After showing him his talent pipes in exchange for 3 evenings a span, he would receive free room and board, and the room was... Wait, am I reading the wrong thing? I feel like
No.
Okay, I'm reading the right thing.
Yeah, it's pretty much just the chapter is him going around paying debts.
Okay, yes. And then looking to secure a place off-site of the muse.
Yes, because the new place that he's in, he just pretty much gets glares from everyone.
So they reach a deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell Minnie she's a nerd. We all know she's a nerd, Billy.
Bro, what do you think I am?
Minnie, you're a nerd.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Wow.
Wow.
You're as thick-headed as Quoth is.
I'm a pudding brain.
You do have a lot of pudding rattling around in there.
Yeah.
Just for today.
Mm-hmm.
So, at best of all, he would also earn 2 talents every month on top of that. He gets a room, which was a suite with a bedroom, dressing room, and a sitting room. And Quoth is kind of amazed at all this space he would have, right?
Yes.
And so he's sitting pretty at the end of this chapter, kind of like being like, wow, I actually did quite well for myself today. Minnie is too tall on screen. Minnie, make yourself smaller. This is her usual size. She likes to hide behind the axe. Well, I think she made a home in there, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Mhm.
So, getting to chapter 51, Hawk takes multiple trips over Imri. Over time.
You too can become a hero.
Orion, Espresso, thank you for the follow. You too can become a hero, and welcome to Hero Galaxy. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So, Quoth goes over the river, hoping to run into Denna once again, but this time she's truly gone. Ambrose spreads rumors of Quoth around the nobility, so it was hard to nail down a patron. Threp had cautioned Quoth that it was going to be hard, but Threp was known for being a gossip monger and had the intelligence and the time for the two to make up a ditty of their own, and the design was vaguely about Ambrose, which eventually spread like wildfire around the university. Oh, Billy, you didn't have to do that. Thank you very much for gifting a sub to Orion Espresso. Hell yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Yes, this is
jackass.
This is the juicy chapter. Juicy.
I have been waiting for this chapter the entire book.
It's kind of funny because I feel like Quaff has this like you use the ammunition and I will upgrade it to fire it back at you, Ambrose. Right? Like it's like you give me what I can work with. Almost like playing Ambrose's game but better. And I think that's dangerous. Especially when it's nobility.
An incredibly dumb thing.
So,
he's being dumb.
Once again, after they sing this only once, he goes to the archives to try to speak with Lauren, to Will's chagrin, and a Kaldish man walks out, clapping Will on the back, but also speaking to a Koth immediately after in Yilish, and corrects himself that of course Koth is Rue. And he says that he has to leave, but he will catch Koth up when he's back in these parts. Will states that it was Viari, one of Lauren's Gillers. So this man is also a Rue. At least I take it he's also a Rue.
Yes, well, it kind of goes into a lot of like Rue colloquial terms and whatnot that are exchanged. I think we can say that he's Rue.
Right. And only a Rue would know that. I would think so, because most people steer away from them.
Yes.
He's Kaldish? Well, I mean, he's described as a Kaldish man, right? Maybe he's a little mix.
Who knows?
He could just be very well learned, you know? That is also a very big
he is one of
possibility.
Lauren's guilders, so that might be the case.
He's in procurement, so that's his job. He finds the books. He's constantly on the road. Yeah, he could just have met a lot of folks on the road that are Rue. Which very well could be the possibility, because they are all usually traveling sort. So, Quoth finally gets in to see Lauren after Will informed him that he was in a meeting with this man. This man walks out, and of course Quoth goes in. He wants to buy a copy of his book back, Rhetoric and Logic, given by Abinthy. And Lauren says that it's no trouble and you can have it back. Quoth then apologizes and wonders when and what it would take to be let back into the archives. He goes on a whole spiel. Quoth offers many things within his power, but Lauren asks of one thing: to rescind his ban. Demonstrate the patience and prudence which you have been lacking. Which I think would kind of like hurt me if I was younger. Like, ooh, that kind of cut me a little bit.
I mean, he did take Flame into the archives. I can't blame him.
Yeah, that was the first sword that Quoth saw in the university, was on this man Viari. So special permissions given, right?
Yes.
That is one thing of note that I didn't write down, so thank you, Aller. Appreciate you as always. Next day, Jameson's errand boy fetches Quank for the horns again. Yay!
Yay.
It's for conduct unbecoming of a member of the Arcanum. Ambrose had caught wind of the song finally. So he gets to the horns, the masters are there. Ambrose gives his case, and some masters are smiling and laughing and found it to be weak. A weak basis for the punishment and dismisses it to undignified mischief. Branger and Hem were the only ones who didn't pass the motion.
What I do like, and I kind of want to bring it up, is the fact that when they're on the horns, one of the masters brings it up to Ambrose. Sir Ambrose, are you or are you not a donkey?
Yes, yeah. They use
The
logic.
song is about a donkey.
And that's the perks of being vaguely written about somebody, right?
Yes. And,
Oh, we lost you. Where did you go?
I went behind the
You're hiding again.
I'm in home. I'm in my home.
I understand.
But, no, shall I read the lyric that...
Yeah.
He's a well-bred ass, you can see it in his stride. And for a copper penny, he'll let you take a ride.
To which he is asked if he is an ass. Ambrose is like, well, no, I'm not.
Case dismissed.
So I believe it's Branger and Hem were the only ones who didn't pass the motion, and it was supposed to be just a formal apology, but they changed it into a public letter of apology instead of private, right?
Yes.
And Ambrose is losing his mind, clenching his teeth and fists, furious at this. And Eladin sang part of the song as Ambrose left.
No one's shock.
With a smile on his face. I love Eladin so much.
He's great.
So Quath's innkeeper is immediately kind of approached after this. Quath leaving on a high. And it's not the innkeeper anymore, right? It's not the same one.
No? Wonder what happened. Kind of sus.
Yeah, he was replaced. And the new innkeeper is informing Quath that his services are no longer needed and he's going to have to find a new place to stay. After trying many more inns for the same exchange, he finds that the Anchor is the place that he stops in next. And lastly, I believe, the innkeeper informs him that someone stopped in saying there would be trouble, capitals, if dealt with Quath. And the innkeeper didn't like that sort of thing, that they think they can buy the sun. So he said that no one controls him, and he has been in worse trouble than there are words for. So those nobility can shove it up their ass.
Woo!
We like this innkeeper. He's salty.
Yes. He's good.
Anchors is the inn. Anchors is the inn. Also the name of the owner.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the nut, Minnie.
I mean,
I think I have
salty.
enough. I have enough salty. For 2 days now. Oh my god. So, the deal they reach is 4 nights a span. He earns a room on the 3rd floor, and he could eat anything out of the pot for meal times, right?
Yes.
Not the sweetest deal, but a deal nonetheless. And he's happy to stay at Anchors. We get into how the public apology was dealt with now. It's full of grandiose apologies, and even the verses written out of the song that was in question, with 2 new ones added. Jackson had called in Quath's favor and had the letter printed on 100 pieces of paper, where Sim and Will and Quath posted on both sides of the river with an alchemical adhesive made specifically by Sim that would require a hammer and chisel to remove if you don't have the solvent.
It's wonderful.
With musical notes too, so you could learn it. And this was this the chapter you're talking about here? It's the foreboding ending, I believe it is. Getting to the end of it here. I'd say this particular piece of insolence was the main reason Ambrose eventually tried to kill me. Is that what you were talking about, Owler?
No, it's the part about the pickles.
Perfect. The tune being described as so easy to learn you can play it with an empty bucket and have only one ear. Amazing. Yeah, it was simple.
Glorious.
It was simple. I believe that was talked about in the paragraph that I kind of skimmed over.
Yeah, it was an earworm. That's all it is.
Yes, yes. Something that just gets in there and stays in there. So, 62, after that foreboding little line, we get into chapter that's called Leaves. Working for Kilvin, he notices Fella in the shop. Not quite often, but often enough. Believe she's working in conjunction with other areas of study. And we get to the part where Bontar, or Regim Ignal Neratum, is being demonstrated, and it's being talked of as being important to chill the vial before decanting because the agent boils at room temperature. The pressure cap is essential and the liquid is volatile. As a gas, it exhibits surface tension and viscosity much like mercury. It is heavier than air and does not dissipate. It coheres to itself. Best way to describe it? Fire fog.
Fun.
So, the significance this has is that it is used to make blue flame lanterns, or blue flame sympathy lamps, which fetch a pretty penny because of their color, right? It's different.
Yes.
So, demonstration is important. It's some new stuff being added to the fishery, and Kilvin wants to show the proper way to handle it because it is freaking dangerous, right?
Absolutely. Like, you want to be like, okay, here's the stuff, here's what we have to do. Please be careful, everyone.
And next we get into Quoth had been playing at the Anchors, singing to Drover's Daughters when guess who appears? Just like that.
Jackass.
No, it's Halloween. Ardena.
All right.
Fooled you this time. So, as he's playing, he sees Denna, and guess what? He melts, his fingers melt, he stops playing altogether. His fingers fall off.
This moron.
He makes it painfully obvious that he is so into her. He forgets how to exist as a human being.
Yeah.
Anchor lets Quoth leave after noticing the girl, kind of like taking like, okay, but you're gonna owe me, right?
Yes.
Denna teases him for the way he goes to his room. She tells Quoth to steal her, which I want to comment that he goes to his room through scaling the outside rather than walking up the stairs and going through the window, right?
This boy went feral.
Yeah. Full feral at the sight of this woman's. She tells Quoth to steal her, and when questioned about Savoy, she shoos the topic off. Like, that's just another one of my suitors. Like, he doesn't matter. Quoth wonders though what flower Denna would be in conversation and arrives at a Celis flower, which Denna then corrects Quoth that she would rather be Daisy's, and Daisy's is closer. Quoth said Daisy's before the Celis flowers. Willow Blossom was assigned to Quoth by Denna. The willow moves to the wind's desire, but willow blossoms don't exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that was made up. And Quoth toils around as if he had said and done the right things after this meeting with Denna, with not pursuing her further after dropping her off. Yes, there is a lot about Celis flowers. Let me try and pinpoint. They are rare. Hard to cultivate. And fragile. And ... Aller is typing.
We need to just have him on the stream at this point.
Literally, I would love to be honest.
I don't know, want to join us?
We could get you a little PNG up here, Aller.
Yeah.
You'd become an honorary VTuber. It is mentioned in an earlier chapter that Quantha is growing a patch of this outside the Waystone. Oh! Ooh, thank you. I did not know that. Well,
Tramp.
it totally skipped my mind. Did you remember that little piece?
Nope.
Aller, you are a genius. You have so many red threads going on your wall. I can't believe it. Thank you for bringing that up. I knew there was significance in it, and I just couldn't find where it was. And you hit the needle in the haystack there, buddy. Thank you. Fourth time going through. I guess I'll get it on my fourth time, right? So we get to the end of it here of their interactions, and it kind of leaves Quoth with like, did I do everything that I could have done in my power to leave a lasting impression? I couldn't have made that much of an impression on her. Steal me, she said. And he kind of mulls it in over in his brain that he should have been bolder, he should have kissed her, or maybe he should have been cautious. He shouldn't have talked as much, and then he's like, I said too little. So it's those things that you're thinking like after you're on a date, right? The usual.
Oh, of course, you're hyperanalyzing everything.
Yeah. And it's compounded when you actually like someone. You actually like go at yourself a lot harder. Did I actually do what I had to keep them interested? Am I boring? Shit. And I believe that takes us to 63. And in my book, you actually get a picture of Denna, and she is rather enchanting.
Well, I'm glad I don't.
I'll just have to go back and take pictures of all these and line them up for stream. I don't know if I could do that. Is that copyright?
Technically, yes.
Well, I wish you could
If
see
you
it.
don't have the artist's permission to show it.
Yeah.
I
could
Jakiro.
describe it to you. Jakiro, it's okay. Welcome. We're only on chapter 63?
Yep.
Wait, 63, yeah. And 63 is a shorty, too. But welcome to the stream, Jakiro. Welcome to the Waystone Inn. Pull up a stool and listen to the stories. So,
If you listen closely.
if you listen closely, you can hear the nuts flowing through the tavern.
I'm sorry. I'm having fun.
I like it. It's fun. It's funny. Hope everyone's doing great. I'm doing pretty good this week. I had a good week off last week, and this week I am taking it easy. Manser has been better, but Manser is battling and surviving. Manser's doing good. I'm proud of Manser.
I'm so tired.
So, chapter 63, we get camaraderie to the maximum as Quoth fills the boys in on what happened and how scared he is of this woman. And then they talk of Minette giving Quoth permission to start the Journeyman project, and Quoth debates on what to make, right?
Yes. Yes, he does. I am looking at the chapter to figure out if he decides what he's going to make of this chapter or not.
Minette just said stick to the lamp.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sim gives advice, if you like a girl, you have to let her know. Willem made a point of looking elsewhere while Sim glared at Quoth, and they had a little staring match, and Quoth looked away feeling guilty. And I believe the last line here is, besides, there's nothing to tell. I like spending time with her, and now I know where she's staying. That means I can find her when I go looking. Hey, Monty, I'm just glad you got to catch a little bit of it. Thank you for letting us lull you to sleep, and you are very welcome for the good vibes. Thank you for the good vibes in chat, too.
Thank you for the nuts.
Thank you for the nuts. How can I forget?
Thank you. Thank you for the nuts.
I appreciate you, Monty. I hope you get some good sleep. So, 64 is 9 in the fire. 9 in the fire. This is like the build-up situation here for this chapter. So, Quoth frequently goes looking for Denna, and she's not at the inn in the next 5 days, and the name didn't even match. It was Dinah. So she's changing her name quite frequently here. Sussy.
Yes, she is.
Sussy Baka.
Oh, she is such a sussy baka.
Quoth left fruitless in his efforts to look for this woman. So he goes back, talking with Kilvin about sympathy lamps exploding. A moment in the mind is worth 9 in the fire. He said it. He said it.
Yes, this was to be like, Lyrica, do you know how many of sympathy lamps have exploded in my hands? None. None of them have.
And his response to why is, a moment in the mind is worth 9 in the fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get the sense here that Kilvin is a prep man. He prepares for everything. At least, I think that's what's supposed to be interpreted.
Yes, and very cautious with his work. He respects it. He respects the alchemical agents he's working with. And is being like, do not lose your fingers, boy. Take some caution.
Mm-hmm. And I believe he cautions Quoth because he's very much so the fire, right? Like, he acts and he thinks later in most cases. And that's a good and a bad thing. Denna does change names like some people change clothes, for sure. It's a great way to put it. So, they get into talking about the unconventional nature to his project lamp with a rheostat and a narrow slice of light, right?
Mhm.
And, kind of, like, mentions how it's almost unsavory. Quoth wanted to be different for his project, and Kilvin admits that he is impressed with the skill and tidily made lamp with sigildry that is cunning and engraving that is precise. Kilvin said, your apprenticeship is over, but that lamp will be melted down, much to the dismay of Quoth, because the whole talent that was spent of his own money had gone to this lamp for his project. So, I just imagine Quoth kind of standing there with, like, an open mouth, like, almost crying.
Yeah. It's designed like a flashlight. It's
Yes.
literally a thieves' lamp.
Yes. It's designed to be small and hidden. Right. It's a narrow path. And much like for those who don't want to be seen in the dark, a narrow path of light is the best tool. So, the lamp is incredibly well built. Actually works just like a flashlight. That's what I pictured in my brain. Just like a small cone going out. It's going to be scrap. This lamp is great. Slaps it, but it's going in the scrap heap. Pioneers used to use these babies for miles. With a bright red light, yes. Being a bit too clever, and Kilvin catches on to this. So, Kilvin said, your apprenticeship is over, but your lamp will be melted down. And Minette is the first to congratulate Quanth, but also told him that he wouldn't be impressed. He knew he wouldn't be impressed. Minette asked what's in store next now that he is a free agent, right? He passed his test. He can create whatever the hell he wants to in the fishery now.
Mm-hmm.
And Quanth propositions Minette if he knows a way into the archive, and he scolds Quanth for even thinking about it and not being patient. He gives Quanth firm advice this time around. Quanth approached Kilvin after a cutscene and asked to buy back his lamp, which Kilvin replied that no one could buy things that they made with their own hands and supplied the materials for, and then gives Quanth a firm warning about anyone else using it or it getting used for dishonest things, but obliges and gives Quanth the lamp.
Yeah, like, I can totally understand that. It's like, boy, you made a thieves' lamp. Do not use this for thieving and skullduggery.
It's kind of like the dad kind of thing, like your first knife. Like, I'm proud of you, but like, don't use this for stupid things, right? It's
Mhm.
like a good like little mentorship feeling that he has. Like, yes, you can keep your work. You built it with your own hands, and I am damn proud of you. But do not do anything that I wouldn't do. Thank you. So, any thoughts here, Owler? Did I miss anything? Yeah, cuts the cost using the lamp for thievery and skullduggery.
Yeah, literally.
Otherwise, I think we are safe to jump into 65 if I didn't miss anything of note, or if there isn't any Easter eggs that I didn't catch there.
No, I think you got it.
65, we get into talk of a minstrel secret, and he kind of gives it to his friends. It's about asking for a made-up drink at the bar. The bartender at the tavern gives back water for the musician, and the musician, the tavern, and the bartender split the money 3 ways at the end of the night, depending on how much was given, right?
Mhm.
So, the boys know about this now? Or is it just the reader?
Okay, hold on. No, it is just the reader. This was never discussed to the boys.
Okay, so he's kind of like telling the reader what trick he uses when he drinks with these boys. Graysdale mead. Yes. It's basically a form for tipping a musician, or if the musician wants to get out of drinking anymore, right?
Yes.
Because who is a musician to spurn nobility's generosity?
Exactly.
It's kind of like a get out of jail free card, and you maintain the facade of politeness as you do it too. Benefits all. So, believe we get into talking here, and I'm trying to follow along in the pages because I know I paraphrased this very lightly this time around. He gets well drunk in hopes of finding out about another way into the archives, drinking with Sim as well at the Aeolian. They toast first to suggesting that Kilvin will talk to Lauren for him from Quas Brilliance, but then to the botherment of Ambrose Jacus. And that is their toast. Will and Sim see a girl mingling with Diok, and their eyes are glued. surprised to know that this is in fact Diane. This is Quoth's girl. And they're just kind of like, how did you land this? They're just amazed. Like, this is Diane? Just kind of gawking. Quoth feels a weight settling in his chest when Denna is being walked in by Diok, and Diok seems pretty smitten with her as well. Gives Diok a friendly embrace, and Denna enters the picture soon afterward. After speaking with them, being Quoth's friends, saying that we would have hell for it if we took you away from him. You're all he talks about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Denna's like, so these are the friends who I hear so much about. It's kind of like these are who are the topics of the day whenever we meet. They kind of like size each other up, and they're happy with their assumptions, right? So Denna gets to leave shortly after, where jealous men gawk, and Diok even looks at Quoth leaving with Denna. And this is where a hint is also caught in Quoth's eyes, or of Diok's eyes, and he says there's another look mired in his eyes. It's sadness or pity, and he kind of raises a question. Yeah, Sim breaking the code, 100%.
Bro code has been breached, everyone.
But that's okay. It's not like Sim has a chance. Sorry.
No, it's entirely valid.
Sim is but a simple boy, you know? But we love him for what he is. So, oh Quoth, that girl is going to break you. 100%. 100%. So, they leave the Olean, right? For some time alone together. They buy a bottle of, I believe it's strawberry wine, and some bread to share as they sit beneath a willow on a bench. Kind of fitting, right? She just said that he was a willow blossom. And Denna takes off her shoes kind of to feel the grass. Honestly, I'm big on that too. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I've been stuck in wizard jail. I haven't felt grass in a long time.
My apologies. We're gonna break you out soon enough.
I'm good. Yeah, don't worry.
Soon enough. So he admires Denna kind of with that blank, far-off stare that you get when you look at somebody that you're absolutely smitten with. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Not touching grass is good. Yes. Gamer no touch grass.
Grass apart, strong.
Grass away. Good. Everybody's just like, grass, no!
No!
Not the grass!
We know who our audience is.
I picture, like, Nick Cage screaming, not the grass, instead of not the bees.
It's just someone trying to put one of us on the grass going,
100%. So, getting back into their moment here, he's kind of, like, looking at her just, like, blankly, not paying attention to what's being said. And, he asks, like, or she asks, like, what's being thought of in that brain of his, and he says, he was thinking of the words that the masters told him about, the 7 words that will make a woman love you. And she's kind of playfully saying, oh, don't get quiet on my account. I would miss your voice. And she lets Quoth know that he already spoke those words to make her love him. And from that moment, she was his. I don't know what vibes you're getting here, but, like, I feel like Denna is just like, I don't know, like confidence level 10, like looks level 11, like she knows how to, and social ability 11. Like,
She has a charisma of 20
yeah.
minimum.
She knows what she's doing here, and I always wonder, like, this has to be what she does with everyone, right? She knows the right words to say.
Yes. She knows the 7 words to make a man love her.
Yeah, and this is where you get the shock of Quoth going, "Wait, you remember when we met, like on the caravan?" And Denna informs him that the words were, "I was just wondering why you're here." And Quoth is baffled. She explains that she thought Quoth had forgotten about her. And she didn't want to bring it up and look awkward, right? She states that nothing good happened in Annalyn. And she akins herself more to Savian than Alowine after she had to find Quoth ×2. She had to do the looking.
Hmm.
How could I
Yes,
forget the red-haired young man who left her for the university? But Quoth is like, I didn't do the leaving. Right? It's like, you left me.
Yeah. Well, they had to leave each other. I don't think either of them are right. They had their own paths. That's fine.
It's hard to see it the other way, though, when you're standing on one side of the line.
Yes.
So, next comes, she asks Quoth to meet her at the Olean the next day at noon. And Quoth is like, yes, of course, I will do that. And they spend hours. This is where it's like elegantly described as dancing through conversation, almost unaware if the other was dancing at all. I believe that's a little bit of foreshadowing there itself.
Yeah, everything is foreshadowing. This entire book is all foreshadowing.
I wish I could say different, but like it's very cleverly written so that you could take almost everything at face value too, you know?
Mhm.
And going back through another reading, I'm elated, honestly. Like I'm picking up on so much more than I missed the first time around. And it's really blowing my mind just how much of little Easter eggs we get in here. And we find out it all in hindsight. Yeah, which is the beauty of this book, right? It's a story being told. And at one point, it's funny because I was amazed that it was like double Inception. It was a story within a story within a story. Like, how do you do that? You incepted me, Patrick Rothfuss. How dare you? So,
Yeah.
we get to the quote after Quoth coming off the high of the night and coming back into the Olean, where Diok cautions Quoth about the type of person that Diane is, as he calls her, and then is paid a compliment afterward that he wished he was more like Quoth. I believe it's described here as women are like fires, like flames. Some women are candles, bright and friendly. Some are like single sparks or embers, like fireflies for chasing on summer nights. Some are like campfires, all light and heat for a night and willing to be left after. Some women are like hearth fires, not much to look at, but underneath they are all warm, red coal that burns a long while. Diane is like a waterfall of spark pouring off a sharp iron edge that God is holding to the grindstone. You can't help but look. You can't help but want it. You might even put your hand out to it for a second, but you can't hold it. She'll break your heart.
Yeah, she will.
You forgot how Denna decided that Denna was fine for Quoth, and that she described Denna as such a silly girl, really. Yeah, and she also states that she can't remember that girl anymore. It's been so long since she was that girl, right? Thank you for bringing that up too, Howler. Yeah, I missed that point in my notes as well, with her describing that she can't remember when the last time she was Denna. Also adding like a little bit of more sussy baka in the miss too. Like, you changing your names for purposes here.
So much mystery. I wonder what it will be about.
Yeah, it's like Name of the Wind is referring to herself as the wind and her name changing so often. Get the feeling it's certainly more than just a love interest. Time will tell, right, Chikiro? And at the end of the chapter, we get the line, "How young I was, how foolish, how wise." But I will say, I want to go back into what Quas' response to Diok, that kind of like gave way to Diok's admiration. It was, "Diok, my heart is made of a stronger stuff than glass. When she strikes, she'll find it strong as iron-bound brass, or gold and adamant together mixed. Don't think I am unaware, some startled deer to stand transfixed by hunter's horns. It's she who should take care, for when she strikes, my heart will make a sound so beautiful and bright that it can't help but bring her back to me in winged flight." Diok's like, "God, you're brave and young. I wish I were as brave and young as you."
The kid's got balls.
Yeah, kid's got balls.
He's got balls.
He's got nuts.
He has many nuts. 2 large walnuts.
Is it really? Adamant is an archaic term for diamond? I had no idea, because like I always, thank you for the nut, Howler.
Knew it.
I always like, I have video game knowledge of what adamantine is, or adamantium, you know, like that, or comic book knowledge. It's just hard as hell. Hard as hell. Stronger than steel, stronger than any other metal known to man. It's like the next step up, right? Fantasy knowledge at least allows me to believe that. I just didn't know it was an archaic term for diamond. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Have you ever thought of it anything different?
Not really.
So same kind of interpretation I had?
Yes.
Formerly associated with diamond or lodestones. Okay. Also magnets. Yes. And what else are magnets or lodestones? The waystones.
They are.
So this is the very interesting chapter that we come up on next, chapter 66.
Wait. I can describe this whole chapter in one word.
Okay.
Kaboom.
Thank you.
Yep. There we go.
So
Pack it up,
chapter
everyone.
67. Chapter 66, right?
Yeah.
We nut for Kaboom.
I don't know.
Oh, we gotta hydrate. Make sure you hydrate.
I mean, there's been a lot of nuts. You probably should hydrate.
I don't like my face when I do that. It's very unbecoming. Anyway, getting back into chapter 66. Titled accurately Volatile. We have Koth making his way to the fishery, eager to make money. There's a canister that was frosted heavily of this bone tar, and he asked if it should be this frosted to Jackson, while Jackson said, "It's better to be too cold than not cold enough," and he goes, "Hey, kaboom."
Yep. Hold it there, bud.
I love that response too. Just like, kaboom. So Cloth is noticing like this canister is extremely cold and there's a lot of frost on the edges on the outside. So just after the first time seeing it, he kind of like clues in that maybe something's amiss here. After 2 hours of work on his blue sympathy lamps that he's making to try to make money, right? His batch. He kind of like loses concentration and looks over to find that the canister is leaking bone tar down the leg of the work table after hearing an "oh my god" behind him. So
Worthy reaction.
danger, right? Danger.
Big danger. Get out of the building immediately.
So the canister falls after it eats its way through the work table floor. Or sorry, not the work table floor, the work table leg. Canister falls and shatters like glass on the floor. And gallons of the fluid splayed across the workshop floor. Burn, baby, burn. Disco Inferno, exactly. So it runs in two different directions, towards two drains that Quath was marveling at the craftsmanship at the time. What a time to be doing that. Marveling at the craftsmanship of the floor and how it was leveled so that everything would run into drains at two ends of the room. At this point, Quath notices Fella standing in shock. He looks around the room for a plan and kind of like formulates it in just seconds with what he has at his disposal. He shatters a glass hemisphere to achieve a curved shard of broken glass the size of his palm and strode past the fume hood, grabbing his cloak. He draws blood on his thumb and smears it across the glass, enacting a binding that went to the drench tank, and he throws the glass on the ground and crushes it under his heel. What happens next? 500 gallons of water strikes him and the floor. So the drench tank just shatters, leaving him kind of like cool and wet where the water had gone over his body. The bone tar fumes start igniting in the air and start pooling in a smog, fire fog, right? Fella makes a break around to the wall, but is stopped where the fog is boiling up from the drain at this point. And Fella kind of instinctively has her arms up in front of her face, as most people, do when they're scared. They put their hands kind of covering their face. Quath rushes over and instructs her to put her arms down as he makes his way toward her. Quath told her that he's going to have to carry her, and she says that his legs are going to burn, but he still trudges on. So Quath ran, carrying Fella in his arms, while
Like a sack of potatoes.
like a sack of potatoes. Yeah. Well, one arm, I guess it would be like hanging over one, because he uses his other hand to shield his face with his free arm. And as he's running, he finally has to take a breath, and the air hits his lungs as he enters a wall of flame, but felt a sharp chill of fog around his lower half as he ran, tasting the air of ammonia.
Worry about a thing. We'll reach out to
Perfect for the moment.
you.
That was great timing, Jakiro. This is the hero moment. You're 100% right. So the cloak was covering Fella. Stack of potatoes on the arm. Has a hand over his face as he runs through this fire. And as soon as he gets through, darkness. I am here. Yes.
Not wrong.
I got tears because of this song. Me too, Edgar. Me too. Every time. It makes my heart tingle. I love it. But how appropriately done. Kudos, Jakiro. So basically we get another cut, and Quoth wakes up and instinctively asks, "What time is it?" As if he has to make the next class.
Mm-hmm.
First bell afternoon, Mola says, standing next to him. They trade remarks about her making Elfie, and she retorts by saying the heat didn't damage his gilding tongue. Like, how dare you flatter me after you've just been injured? But I like it.
Bola's a mood.
Yeah. Everyone is good, all things considered, for those in the fishery. There was one case of metal poisoning, and a few second-degree burns and third-degree, or first-degree burns? Can't remember
Yeah.
which
No
two.
one had third degree, so it was second to first.
There we go. And shortly after that, Willem enters with Sim bringing clothes. They informed Quoth that they couldn't find a second pair of shoes, with him remarking it was fine. He has been barefoot before. And Quoth finds himself getting up and limping away shortly after, late for his date with Denna. So he starts moving across the river and asks, where are we at here? Does he stop? Does he stop for shoes even at this point?
No.
Okay, he just keeps going.
Yep.
So he's gets to Diok, and Diok asks where his shoes are. Diok told Quoth that Denna was gone, saying that she did ask about him. Said she waited for about an hour, more than she's ever waited for any man. And she left with someone that was white-haired. And Quoth's heart kind of sunk for a bit, and informed him that she was looking for a patron, as she is wont to do. Quoth would crawl over broken glass and not even think about it for this woman, 100%. So he limps back to Anchor's. He eavesdropped in his room after eating a bowl of soup brought by a serving girl. He did go the unsavory way up into his room again somehow. But from the eavesdropping, he gathers that people are already talking about what had happened, and that Quoth is a hero. And Quoth is kind of delighted that it's spreading so quickly, and what is being spread is to his liking. It's going to his head. Trying to see if we left off on any... Nope.
No, I think that just about covers it.
It was my first taste of being a hero. I found it quite to my liking. Yeah. So that was shortly action-packed chapter. You can see like little pieces in there if you paid enough attention to what may have been alluded to in the last chapter, but we'll continue on going. Chapter 67, Quoth returns back to the fishery with a bandage, and Kilvin chides Quoth upon his returning, showing the lantern and his cloak, saying he left it when they took him away. Kind of like, you told me you would watch this at all times. What's this doing on the ground? Kilvin then says that he's just joking, and thanks him for saving Fella. And Quoth does notice that Kilvin is looking rather rough at this point. Very rough, in fact. Actually, getting further in the conversation, there is also another little Easter egg here. The word coat shows up, and it's Chanvin Edan Coat, which means expect disaster every 7 years. Kilvin said it's been 2 years overdue, and Kilvin is definitely on some painkillers from Medica, leaving Quoth to wonder which ones he's on. Yeah, Kilvin is delighted. 2 years overdue. That's a good run. But it leaves me to wonder what word is coat in that sentence for translation. I'm going to guess it's disaster.
Yes, and it also makes clear just a little further on that Kilvin does not believe this was the fault of Kvothe or anything like that, but rather that the protective glass that was inside the container had damaged sigiltry that only got worse as it got colder and caused that reaction. It was not carelessness on literally anybody there's behalf.
Right. But I believe Jackson is kind of taking the brunt of it because he should have known, right?
Yes.
Quoth asked what went wrong with the canister, and Kilvin said it was too cold. The canister sigilry was damaged and grew colder and colder to where the reagent froze, and it cracked the inner glass container that then ate through the metal. Kilvin says that Jackson is under his displeasure, and Quoth asks how he managed to get the fire under control. Kilvin asks, "How do you think I did it?"
Yes, but he has those fire eaters, or whatever, the heat eaters.
Right. So, Quoth kind of offers in a jest that says, "You called the name of fire like the great Tamerlane." And Kilvin then asks Quoth, "How did you get through the fire? We'll start with you. There's no secrets between us, yes?" So, he's very puzzled, though. He wants to know, how did you break the drench exactly? Kilvin says that it was made by him, and that it couldn't even break under Kamar's anvil hammer, and again reiterates that there shouldn't be secrets between them. So Kvothe says that he knows the sigilry for twice tough glass, and what he can make, he can break. And then Kilvin asked his source, while Kvothe said, holding up his thumb, blood. Kilvin said with blood he should have gone into a binder's chills almost immediately with that source. And Kilvin seems irritated almost that it could be undone with just blood, something he made with his own hands. So, stroking his beard and the furrowed brow kind of led me to believe that he was surprised yet also astonished that this kid was able to break something that he made with just a piece of glass and his own blood.
Look, it's Kvothe. He's gonna do it.
But there's a reason why Kilvin sponsored him, right? He sees this in him. But it's at the point now where Kilvin's even questioning, what is the aptitude of your ability? Where does it end? And Kilvin admits there are probably 2 others that could name fire in the university, but things would have gone better if Eladin was there, right?
Yes.
And Quoth is shocked, saying that those are just stories, while Kilvin asks, where do stories come from? And he says every tale has deep roots somewhere in the world. Kilvin says he was prepared. He had a small vial of the reagent in his office and used it as a link to draw heat from the spill. While the reagent grew too cold to boil, the remaining fog burned away. Jackson and the others scattered lime and sand to control what didn't go down the drain. Kilvin said he had an empty heat eater ready for such an emergency, and that fire is the simplest of troubles he should be prepared for. So, 2 things here. You get the actual, not sense, but the actual application of how prepared Kilvin is for all these situations, and a little bit of foreboding as well that, something this volatile is the least of the troubles he's prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
So this has left Quoth in kind of astonishment, right? Kilvin says about 850 million thoms. I don't know what a thom is, but I assume that's a shit ton of fire units, like a shit ton of heat. Kilvin
Yeah.
says, it dissolved quickly, but not easily. Push. Very, very quickly, but not easily.
Indeed.
And Cloth is absolutely enamored by the power that this man was able to draw from to kind of cage all this heat. So it's kind of like a mutual respect here developing from each other's power, right?
Mhm. They
Yeah.
are seeing eye to eye, which is very good.
Good thing there was lots of fire around to keep Cloth warm.
Yes.
I hate that face. Why? Oh my god. And then Eladin is actually very competent. 100%. And then Cloth remembers someone. Who does he remember?
I don't recall. That doesn't come after that. It literally ends at that.
So, the next day, barefoot, cloakless, and thinking grim thoughts about his life, the novelty of playing a hero faded quickly, right?
It did, and he was made grimly aware of his own poverty, where it's like, I just lost an entire set of clothes, I've lost my shoes, I have no safety net, unlike all of my friends here. This is bad.
He's chewing on willow bark, bitter willow bark, kind of suiting his mood, right? Sim and Quoth kind of snap back and forth at each other during lunch because he's sour, right? He just lost like half of his possessions. Will offered no opinion, as Will does. And they ask him to see 3 pennies for wishing, and in an attempt to cheer him up, right? And Quoth agrees to go because it can't get worse. And what is better to cheer up Quoth than a good play?
So he skips advanced sympathy and goes to Imre.
And I believe he knows half of his emitters sold by lunch, and that was a talent and a half. And he thinks that Kilvin padded the price, which he probably did, right, to sell and help out Quoth. But he did mention that it also did wonders for his pride.
Yes.
So yeah, he skips out on advanced sympathy to go over to Imri to see Denna. On the way to Eolian, he bought a pair of low boots that he had just 3 jots and a drab left afterward. He then scoffs that he had made more money living on the streets in Tarpeen. So he's very upset. Negative thoughts coming out of this boy.
I mean, that's entirely fair. You can kind of understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, bad days are bad days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he gets to the Eolian. Deok said there was someone waiting for him, and he gets inside and he's like, "Oh, I hope it's Denna." And to his surprise, it's Fella. She rushes toward him, displaying a bruise on her cheekbone, and Quoth asks, "Is that from when I dropped you? And are you hurt anywhere else?" And she said, "Well," she said, "nowhere I can show you in public," and shifts her hips. And Quoth is kind of distracted. He's like, "Oh, do I like this? I like this.
I like this.
Yeah." So she explains how she thought she was going to die and how frozen she was and how heroic Quoth looked, and asking if he had ever seen Dayonica. Has he ever seen Dayonica?
Have you ever seen Dayonica? I was going into Dayonica before it was cool.
So Quoth takes her by the hand after seeing that she's upset. She's like going on the spiel about how somebody at Arcanum freeze up in paralysis when danger arises, and she's kind of distraught with herself. Quoth takes her hand and says that these aren't Maiden's hand, after seeing how disappointed in herself that she was that she couldn't even move to act. Quoth kisses the back of her hand, and she goes on all wooed. She is definitely a woo girl at this point. She says, like Tarsus, Gallant, and Orin Velciter rolled into one. And says that she has something for Quoth. And this is a total personality shift. Just one action that Quoth does changes her on a dime, and she's back to being happy. And in awe of just being around Quoth. She says that she asked Will and Sim what to get him as a gift and produced a bundle of cloth. Deep forest green, rich, fine cut. And it was clothing that Quoth could never hope to afford himself. She says that her tailor had sewn a bunch of little pockets into it. How Will and Sim mentioned. What good friends, right? They know him.
Mm-hmm.
He has a love for pockets.
To give that man all the pockets. Trust me, there's no overkill, just all pockets.
But it also shows like the thoughtfulness and the genuine appreciation that fella had for Quoth saving her. She went through the trouble not just like of finding something, but finding something he needed and something that he loved, right? He loves pockets. And she went to the friendies, the besties, to get this answer. So, fella went above and beyond repayment here, in my eyes. She goes on to say the color suits you as she wraps it around him almost like an embrace, and he feels her warmth, and again, he's like, do I like this? Yes, I like this. I think I like this. And she flatters him by saying, they bring out the color of your eyes. It's like a piece of spring. And as she says this, he catches the back of Denna leaving the Olean, and Quoth wonders what Denna is thinking as this perfectly attractive young girl is right in front of him, fawning over him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Quoth stared spacily as she explained that if Quoth ever needs anything, a favor, that he should stop by, ... And then she's like, are you all right? Excuse me? Don't you see me here? Like,
Yeah.
like I'm actually absolutely just gushing over you. Please look at me.
I am throwing myself at your feet. You could at least be appreciative.
Are you all right? He lies. I'm fine. And then fella goes on after talking and sitting with Quoth and sharing a drink that she had been working with Eladin for the past several months. And they go into a story of how he made her put clay in his shoes. Or in her shoes and like sit with it there. And feel it. And so you get the knowledge, or at least Quoth does, that Eladin is actually working with students again. And that maybe it isn't busted hope, and that maybe Bella could put in a word for him. But he doesn't arrive to this conclusion immediately. All that's in his head is he's wondering if, and hoping if he could make things right with Denna if she came back. Womp womp womp. So,
And felt so bad for fella.
yeah, and she's described as a very attractive woman too. So like, I don't know. It just makes me feel like I want to bonk Quoth with the hammer. You know, like
Yes.
give him a little bonky like this. Like,
Yeah, like
bro,
that.
come on. And this, like, it's just a line of women that are fawning over Quoth, and all Quoth cares about is this smooth talking, you know, who the hell knows who this girl is, but it's an obsession that developed, and it's trauma linked, right? So of course it's strong. So, Koth eventually runs out of money and limps back over the river. Koth realized when he got back to the university that most of the bone tar had gone down the grates, and his thoughts were like, oh shit, Ari, oh my god.
Oh my god, where's Ori? So he runs to go get Mola. Introduce second best girl.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I'm going to call Denna worst girl.
I'll agree. I'll allow it. Not that it has to be allowed. I think everybody's thinking it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mola is here. Mola's at the Medica, gets beckoned by Koth, and is instructed that Koth needs her towards the mains and to bring a medical kit. Mola jokes about his purpose being sinister after they climb up onto the rooftops of the mains. And then Koth just says, you could always just push me off the roof because I have no way to defend myself in reality right now. As he's limping around. He's like, if I really wanted to do that, like, you would have known by now and I would have had no chance, and you are a capable arcanist. You can totally take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
She asks if he is alright, and he sits down and gets woozy, and he replies, probably not. Koth tells Mola about Ari after she became frustrated about being patient and goes to sit down, saying, I've been on my feet all day. Koth tries to lift up the grate, but finds that the clasp was unable to be found, almost like it shifted places, right? Mm-hmm. So he's just kind of banging this grate off of the allowed metal that it can wiggle against. And then he calls for Ari while he's down in the courtyard once more. And Ari answers Koth from the roof. And Koth kind of cautions her, I brought a friend. And she's like, is he nice? And he's like, it's a she. And Ari is kind of disarmed at that point, right?
Yes. And Mola's having a bit of a what the hell?
Yeah, she's looking at this ragged girl while she presents Koth with, I brought you a feather with the spring wind in it, but since you were late, you get a coin instead. And it looks like an Arturian penance, but it gleams of silver. He's never seen a coin like it. And Koth brings, in exchange, some tomatoes, beans, and sea salt. Which he also says that he spent a lot of money on the day before, right?
Yes.
A literal waif appears out of nowhere. I believe she was described as waifish anyway, in exact words. Koth first thought scientifically about what salt is comprised of and then what it does. And then his mind goes to fantasy and what Ari and him do with each other. He says, dreams of fish and sailor songs when asked about what lives in sea salt. Koth asks if she saw the fire, and she said it was all over and it was terrible. All the animals were running for their lives. And he asked, did it catch you? And she was like, it could never catch me, she says with a smile. And Mola was gestured,
Nut.
plenty of salt for the nut. My god. Thank you for the
You
nut,
did
Eller.
this. It's your redeem.
I know, but I can't get rid of it. It's just so timeless.
It is pretty timeless.
Mola is gestured over, and Ari compliments her, saying they have the same hair. And she offers an apple to Mola, saying that it contains a wish inside of it. Before you take a bite, make a wish. And Mola contemplates for a long moment before taking a bite. And then Ari is immediately gremlin mode chewing on the beans. And goes to her usually, play, sing for me. And Quoth begins to do so. And it goes back to Mola and Quoth exiting. Or Ari's exit. And Mola and Quoth says that she can't. Wait. Mola, but Ari says that she can't, and Mola agreed that she cannot. Dismissed Mola. Okay. Quoth dismissed Mola. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. But Mola says that she wants to say, and Mola then asks if he's told anyone about her, and Quoth says no, because she would end up crocked, and Mola knows it. And Mola went to reply, but then just quieted herself because she knows it's the truth.
Yeah, there's no real way to get around that at this point.
Mola offers that she can bring some of her clothes, but Quoth says that he tried bringing her a secondhand dress once, 2 span ago, but Ari said wearing someone else's clothes is filthy. Mola's like, she's not Kael'dish, is she? She didn't look Kael'dish. And Quoth was kind of like, I don't know, maybe she was raised that way. Mola then asked if Quoth was feeling any better, noticing he was shaking. And kind of pulls Quoth over and has him lean onto her as they make their way back to Anchors to put Quoth to bed.
Apple Betty Boy.
Yeah. So we have Sweet Maiden, Arcanist, and then we have Sweet Healer Arcanist, also kind of like taking a kin to Quoth here in these chapters. This was the romancily chapters. The romance
We
arc.
are close to an anime harem.
I love it though, don't you?
It's amusing, to say the least.
I love the female characters in this. They're very endearing. They grow on you, and they make you like them far more than Denna.
Yes.
And I mean, previously, like the character building here with these characters, it's great. Like they were just names in passing before these chapters here, and now you have a better look and insight into the natures of these two and their kind of budding relationship with Quoth. And this so fits like your explanation that this is the high school anime book.
Yes.
In the trilogy. But I love it nonetheless. And actually, that's where we stop. We did it.
Yeah, we did it. Thank you very much for taking point tonight while I'm putting brain.
I just appreciate you being here, so thank you for coming.
Anytime, you know that. I'll be doing another 10 chapters.
Yeah, I think 10 is safe to say. What do you guys think? Anyone still listening to the sweet sounds of us lulling you to sleep with our discussion?
We're gonna start on 69.
69. Best number.
Nice. On 69.
So we'll be doing 69 to 79, right?
Yes.
That's your assignment for next week's pupils. 69 to 79. I'll have Owler. Maybe I'll make a little Owler PNG that I could put next to me. For when he catches things that I miss, I'll just have it pop on the screen. But otherwise, thank you all for coming. I appreciate all the follows and the subs today. You guys are amazing. I love having you here. I'll try to stream a bit more now that I'm in a regular schedule. Took the week off last week. It was a poopy week, but this week and this coming week, we should be getting back to business. And as always, please follow Mancer if you don't already. She's amazing, much better than I am with this whole streaming biz.
Oh, come on.
Just take the compliment, all right? But yeah, she's amazing. Great friend, great person, great streamer. Please follow her. Otherwise, we're going to look for somebody to raid Thank you for sticking around once again, guys, and we'll see you next week. Mancer, any parting words?
Nut.
I hate you sometimes. Pudding brain is pudding brain, but we love you too. So let's go ahead and look for who to raid here.
Nut.
Thank you for the nut, Mancer.
Anytime.
Okay. All right, we're going to our ending screen. As always, let's build a better tomorrow together, one day at a time, one step at a one step at a time. Thank you, heroes, and we'll catch you next time. Mancer?
No.
Signing out.